Under the current law, it doesn't allow you to have, when we amended the Constitution in '68, it says nobody, you can't separate categories of wealth and all that kind of stuff. So all I'm saying to you is we have to decide that. That is a real key point. Because in some areas, like if you're in my district, we have no much business at all in the Red Line Southeastern School District. So to us, it's not a big deal if we get away with all property taxes on all the businesses. But for those of you that are in Central York, maybe, and some of those areas, West York and so on and so forth, eliminating all property taxes for even the business community. So if you eliminate, even if you don't eliminate, and I'm sorry for getting into complications here, but here's what makes it so difficult. If you don't eliminate property taxes on businesses, we'll use the Gallery and Mall, and they pay property taxes now. How do you tax them? Do you freeze their property taxes where they're at now? What happens if a new business moves in, a new mall is built? That's where the complications get in on the business side. The easiest is to limit it on all properties. Yes. Because when you start, and I'm not here to advocate one, I want actually like feedback, Elizabeth, from the people here, because we have to go out and make these decisions. The toughest part is trying to decide how, if I take all the property taxes off the businesses in Central York, and we use that, somebody's taxes got to go up to compensate for that in an income or a sales tax, whatever it may be. So that's our complication, is trying, there's legislators who go both sides of that.
Did you want to say something?
I guess I'll just add to that, in that this is an incredibly tough issue to deal with for a myriad of reasons. Stan just hit one of them, and the fact of the matter is, we've been talking about doing something about property tax for 40 years. Now, here in York County, Lancaster County, another part of my district, we have folks who can barely afford to stay in their homes at times because of the property taxes, and it's sad. But in other parts of the state, that is not necessarily true, and it's partly driven by how we fund our schools. Other parts of the state receive more of their education is funded from the state because of the way the formula is driven out, and so the burden for them in the property taxes is not nearly as high. So far in the past 40 years, we haven't been able to get enough legislators who are willing to vote to do something about property tax. That's just the fact of the matter. So this year, you're going to see big results from the election that we just came through. You're going to see results from all the folks who like yourselves, who got involved in this election. And you're going to see the results right here in Pennsylvania with how we deal with the budget. Prior to this, we've had a governor that, when revenues were way down, wanted to spend $1 billion more. Well, this year it's just not going to happen. You're going to see a budget that's proposed by Governor Corbett on Tuesday that carves out about $3 to $4 billion out of our state budget. We're not going to raise your taxes. So this year the focus is on lowering spending. So it's even more difficult this year than ever to talk about eliminating a tax that generates, what, $10 billion across the state, $12 billion across the state. So you're going to see results, but frankly, my view is I don't have high hopes for something to happen on property taxes in this session. I just don't see how it gets done, because we're dealing with a budget that is unprecedented. And on top of that, we're taking on a number of huge issues. So much as I see every day the impact of property taxes on my district, I also know the history of what this been, how we've been trying to deal with this issue. Not me, I've only been there a little over 2 years, but how we've been trying to deal with this issue for decades. And I see the opportunity there to deal with a lot of these issues, but I don't see things falling in place for doing something with property taxes this session.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Matt, you want to weigh in on this. I know you don't have a vote, but weigh in on what you think. Would you support making Pennsylvania right to work state?
Yes.
Yes, kind of yes or no, but Matt, I do want you to weigh in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the evidence is very clear that when you give worker freedom and eliminate the power of a private organization to compel dues from an employee as a condition of their employment, that with worker freedom comes greater economic freedom. I think that's been demonstrated all across America.
Okay. Our representatives and Senator, if you could just answer with yes or no, we have a lot of questions. Would you support making Pennsylvania right to work state, yes or no?
No.
Representative Miller? Yes or no?
Yes, but I need a second to clarify this. This is an issue just like the others we talked about. I can get the votes to jam this through my committee. We can make Pennsylvania a right-to-work state if only my committee has to vote on it. But I have to get the votes in the House and I have to get the votes in the Senate too. So it's going to be a process that we're going to have to work on, and you won't see it in the next 6 months, but I'm hopefully going to run a bill in the next year and a half.
So your vote would be yes?
Yes, and I'm one of those votes that he's going to jam it through his committee with.
Actually, I received the Statesman of the Year award last year from the Right to Work group for my work on trying to make Pennsylvania a right to work state and prevailing wage.
Absolutely, 100% yes.
Okay, the second question is, and Matt, I want you to weigh in on this, especially, part of the problem is I believe Pennsylvania gives the choice of the automatic deduction for union dues, but I think that this isn't relayed to school districts. I think most of them are under the impression that that's the way you pay. Would you be for eliminating automatic deduction as a method of paying union dues?
Yes, absolutely. Just so everybody's clear, what happens right now is that a private organization, that being either the PSEA in your school district or any other union, private organization is able to use the public agency, a school district, as its collector. So when a teacher receives their paycheck, the school district extracts the money for the union dues and then writes a big whopping check, a huge check. You can actually request this from your school district. You can see the tens of thousands of dollars that is then transferred to the private association, the union. Now, let's say that Gold's Gym has a lot of members of teachers at their club, and Gold's Gym said, "Hey, we'd like you, the taxpayers, to fund the collection of our dues." They wouldn't be able to do that. Yet we've given this special legislative carve-out for unions to use the taxpayers as their collection agent. Washington recently said no longer will public entities collect that money, and this has made the unions into an accounts receivable association. I'd like to see that happen to the PSEA.
Okay, so would you support a state mandate which says that this cannot be a method of payment?
Yeah, I do think there's a better way to collect the money. I mean, look, people have a right to join a union, they have a vote, they can also vote to decertify their union, but I do think you can find a better way to collect the dues.
Okay. Representative Miller?
No problem. Good deal.
I thought Matt said Washington, D.C. did that. I was a little lost there, but definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. If the step system of teacher pay was implemented to improve the education of the teacher, why hasn't it reflected in the performance of the students? Now, what we're asking here is school districts pay back teachers their tuition if they go to school, and now the step pay system pays teachers by longevity and by how many credits they have above and beyond their bachelor's degree. And it's proven, our kids aren't getting any smarter here. So why are we funding the education of teachers instead of the students?
I'm a little confused by, the statement confuses me when I first read it, confused me because the step system of teacher pay has nothing to do with the education of the teacher. It has to do with the number of years they've served. So, I mean, you live another year longer, and you go to the next step. School districts have varying steps around the county. Some might only have 14, some might have 17. They vary per school district. But as far as merit pay, yeah, I'd like to see us get to some form of merit pay. I was at a conference, NCSL conference the other year, where basically studies are coming out that saying having a master's degree doesn't make a teacher a better teacher. And we really need to get away from pushing that as far as this is what makes for a better teacher and we pay more because of a master's degree. We get to the pay for performance, we get there. Governor Rendell actually made a great proposal when he was first elected governor, and I would have loved to have supported it because he said we get rid of the various steps in the state contracts and we go to 3